Howdy, partner. Welcome to one of the most northern parts of the United States of America. Travel with me upriver as we talk to a bunch of ladies and fellers and they share their tales of wit and wisdom. That's right, it's time again for Skagit Storytellers with Liz Rankin.
Four of
Skagit?
us? Yeah, four of us.
Oh, no. There's more than that.
Are you talking about men in your category?
No, just overall.
Okay.
Because Kaz is...
Travis, Anderson,
Oh, yeah, Travis.
Angus,
Oh,
the dude who
and-
doesn't wear underwear.
Yeah. Who's the A that kicks butt all the time? He's out of Burlington. Him and his dad.
Brandon. I think he moved to Seattle.
Oh,
But his dad.
His dad.
So wait, does he have a
So-
kilt and he doesn't wear underwear?
Yeah, he's kind of a little bit. He's not like he's just
Eccentric?
like it's one of those rules like you have to wear underwear when you compete because there's kids everywhere. You're doing height events. You're spinning.
Yeah.
Kilts up. So yeah, you got to wear them, and he doesn't. And he's just like he wears a kilt all year round, just like around.
Oh, okay.
So he's just used to it. And like one year, and I was like, Angus, dude, no, you can't. He's like, what? I'm like, go put on some drawers. I don't have any. Like,
Oh, that's funny.
hopefully no kids
Would you
saw
get
that.
disqualified?
You would at a lot of games, like
Okay.
yeah, or they would stop you and say you're now no longer able to throw the rest of the day.
Yeah.
So Luke is actually the athletic director of the Skagit Games.
Oh, you
so
are?
Yeah.
Okay.
if there were issues like that, it would
Yeah.
be the discretion of the athletic director.
You're the Don Bazzizo. Got it.
Yeah,
For Skagit County.
for Skagit County,
Wait, where did you graduate from?
Burlington.
Oh, Burlington. Okay. Did
Yeah.
you play sports under Don?
I played football in high school and golfed.
Okay.
Weird combination, but I like basketball, soccer, baseball, track. But I ran in track. I should have been a thrower. Had someone ever told me like, you big strong boys should just be throwers? Thought of track in general as we have to run, and I had bad asthma, and I was fat, and I didn't want to do anything running. So I was like, oh, I could carry a golf bag around. That's fine. Wasn't like the most athletic. I mean, I'd get hand-eye coordination. I was actually really fast and could jump really high for a 5'1", 220-pound kid. But I wasn't gonna make the A team with all of my.
Yeah.
The varsity squad with all my buddies, so I was like, I'm done.
Danny, how old were you when you were 5'1"?
Fourth grade.
I was 5 foot tall in first grade.
What? Oh my god!
I think I hit 5
I was
feet
joking.
when I was a freshman.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I really enjoyed growing up on a farm. My kids are living in a city.
Did you go to Mount Vernon High School?
No, I actually started off at Allen Elementary because I was living at Bow Hill.
Oh, yeah.
And then they built the new Edison, and I moved to the Edison Elementary, and then moved to LaConner in 7th grade, and then was at LaConner through my sophomore year of high school, and then actually went down to Meadowdale and was at Meadowdale my junior and senior year.
How old are you?
36. I graduated.
Oh, okay. Because I
05.
went to Allen to start. Then
Oh,
they
did
built-
you?
Then they built the new Bayview, and then they moved me up there.
Oh, okay.
I was like, I didn't know you in grade school, but that's because you're so much younger.
How old are you?
40.
He's in the Masters division.
Yeah, I left Allen at 3rd grade, so he was
Okay.
still in preschool or whatever.
So the Masters division starts at 40.
40.
Okay. So is that how you guys met? Was the Highlander Games?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, our first
2009, right?
Yeah, our first event, it was like the biggest novice class that Skagit's ever seen. It got split into 2 groups. And I remember I'm like, why did I come do this? Like, there's guys, Danny's height, a foot taller than me, and all like a bunch of powerlifters and other big guys. And I'm like, I'm not going to win this. Like, no, this isn't, I'm not a thrower. I don't know anything about this stuff.
So why did you start doing it then?
Uncle Scott, him and a bunch of the guys went every year and sat in the beer garden and just watched the athletics and all that stuff. And Mom, I think, texted me and goes, you need to go down and see Uncle Scott at the Highland Games. And I'd never seen him. I had heard of it, but so I went down there and they got me a little tuned up and then called one of the athletes over and they're like, yeah. He's like, meet my nephew Uki. he wants to throw tomorrow. And I'm like, what? He's like, yeah. And then they introduced me to Bob Ham, and they're like, it's novices tomorrow. Like, this is perfect. Like, you're a big, strong boy. I think at the time I was a bodybuilder. And, but I was like a powerlifting bodybuilder. So I was strong. I was like, yeah, I mean, I'm not the size of these guys. The A's were big, you know. Most of them are somewhere around Danny's height. A lot of them are really big. And, yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, that's not me, but...
So you did throw, though.
I went home and chugged Powerade and came with the worst hangover of my life.
Really?
Yeah. And then saw all these people. I'm like, this is huge, all these guys. And, yeah, we had a blast. It was a good time.
That's awesome. So you're glad you did it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I narrowly squeaked out the win. I think, did you get third? Jeff got second. I got first.
Yeah.
And it was like a point or two separating us. Yeah, this kid, Jeff Thornton, who ended up being a 4, 5, 6 year national champion, 3, 4 time world champion. I beat him in that event, that one time, and then I never beat him again until last November at Mothro, the one that we're getting ready to do in November. And that was the first time I beat him since then. He was so proud of me. I'm like, yeah, after all these years of you mopping the floor with me, I finally get you. And, I mean, to be fair, he barely throws anymore. He's got a family and all this stuff. And I don't throw as much as I used to either.
Yeah.
Like the times when we were going to nationals and worlds together, he was still like, he didn't go to the gym. He barely would practice. When I first started going to the championships, him and his buddy Adam drugged me down to Seattle, and we threw a few times. They were trying to train me up because I was new, but I was strong. They said I had potential, so they wanted to help me. So their practice was just to help me, basically.
Yeah.
And so he'd just go to the games, and he was like human Gumby, like just so springy, and yeah, 6'3" or so. He's like, I can't even squat what you bench press, but he could throw a mile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, how do you practice besides, I'm just picturing lifting weights and then going out into a pasture and throwing? Like,
yeah, I mean,
that's what you do?
I went to the river and I got a bunch of rocks, or I'd be at customers' houses, and like they'd have like the rock.
Oh, because you work in
ways.
lawn care as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, and I'd see like a perfect stone, and I had a bunch of them at home.
Yeah.
That were semi-perfect, and so I'd bring one, I'd replace it, and take this perfect, and then we'd go out and throw them in a field. Like we would go to the Allen Fire Department. Where they had,
that field, yeah.
Yeah, right behind there. There was one spot where it gets to the corner of Sam Bell and Chuckanut, and there's just nothing there, so we could throw there. And
so you just bring your rocks and
we brought
throw.
everything. I have everything.
Okay.
I mean, even a caber.
Okay.
But I had to start practicing, because if I was going to go to big games, it wasn't going to fare well for me if I didn't practice, because a lot of guys do, or they go to just tons and tons of games. So, and that's what I started doing too.
How'd you get into like the AD part?
So since I started as a novice, and I got into the lightweight class, and I started traveling a little bit more, and I just started meeting everyone. I think this was like year 2 or 3, after I started, doing 5, 6, 7 games a year. And Bob, the guy the original AD, he was like, I'm too old for this. Now you're an athlete. You go to championships. People know who you are. Like, I need you to like help me. And basically what it meant was, I need you to take it over. And it was help me for the first year. And me and his daughter, Christy, she was doing like bookkeeping, or like the scores and, all that stuff. And so her and I just became the co-athletic directors together, and just the rest is history.
Yeah. Now it's just you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, no, Christy's still with me.
Oh, she's still, okay.
Oh yeah. I could not do it without her. Like, all the stuff that goes behind the scenes. Like, I'll come and set up the field. I'll go buy equipment and spare parts and try to recruit people. But there's tons of meetings for the Celtic Arts and the festival, and setting up stuff and scorekeeping and putting together all the medals and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Registration,
sign-ups, ordering shirts, getting the sponsorship stuff.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Wow.
It's Yeah.
Christy's incredible and
Yeah.
does amazing work. And what's really exceptional about her, just like her dad, she does this for more than one games.
Oh, yeah.
I was down competing in Kelso.
Yeah, and she helps.
she's doing the bookkeeping and competing at the same
Oh, wow.
time. So she's
and she helps with Mothro. She
Yeah.
helps with Bellingham. Essentially any games who's like, we need help. And since she grew up kind of like in this, like her dad was like one of the legends, she was around it. So she goes to all of them. Her dad want to go to all of them. And then she just started helping with any and all. So
Yeah.
she's basically the behind the scenes genius for most of the games and keeps it all together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a little credit. I know Luke's not good about tuning his own horn, but the Skagit Games has become a premier games for athletics. I don't even know if Enumclaw draws the crowd of spectators that we get
really.
during the Saturday afternoon. There are hundreds of people. It is wall to wall people watching. And that's not normal in most games.
I've been to big games, or that I thought were big games, and there's 100 people and like a little I wouldn't call it grandstands, just little metal stands, and there's people on those and some families. A lot of the spectators are the families of the competitors. If there's 40 or 50 competitors, we'll have tents set up, and so the majority of the people came. It's people's kids and their wives and their parents, and credit to us at our games, we have a lot of people with big families, and that helps. But I mean, we got the beer garden right here, and we got the big main stage over here, and there's people lined up in chairs watching both, we have stands, and it's completely lined. I mean, the whole thing except for the backside, which is all of our people with their tents, and then some of the backside too, and then it's just people. I've taken some pictures and I post them online, and people who are throwers that know me from meeting at random games are like, man, that is impressive. Like even at Portland, which is probably easily the biggest in the Pacific Northwest, there's not crowds the size of what we'll get on a Saturday afternoon.
And so having those crowds, doesn't that
Huge.
entice more like bigger names to come, or how does that work?
That, and just get people who are willing to travel to your games. Like
that's what you want.
The
more
weekend that
people?
we do it, there's one in Athena, there's Penticton, and I mean, and we're just talking about the neighboring areas.
Yeah.
I mean, there's probably 15 games going on somewhere in the U.S. or Canada.
Oh wow!
So if you want to get people to just come and show up, because it's great to have the same crew of people, but we like to see new people who come and show up, and they can tell their friends, and when they are scheduling, because people will look at there's a schedule of games like all over the country, especially for the people who are trying to make championships, and they need to get numbers and they need qualifying stuff. So we just like to get them, and maybe we'll get them back, and because the more athletes you get, the easier it is to get better stuff. Like we want to upgrade our hammer cage and our uprights and everything else. And
do the athletes pay to participate?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But like the biggest thing is,
and they also bring their families.
Yes. And they buy food and everything else. But the biggest thing is the amount of crowd that comes in, and them seeing the games, and like being like all the people who were there all 8 hours of the day watching, and the amount of beers, waters. When they asked me to take it over, it was kind of dying off a bit. Like that year that we did it, there was so many novices, and then the next year there was like 8 or 9, and then the next year there was a couple, and Bob didn't have it in him. He was getting older, and he didn't know all the throwers anymore like when he was young and doing it, and so it took someone who's meeting people and going. I'd train out people like, I don't want to come do it and never have thrown before, so I'd go throw with guys who'd never thrown to get them to sign up so that we could get more novices, which in turn will get us more B's and A's moving up as they learn and start to like it. And so that's why I keep doing it. I love the games in general, but to see what we've done, I want to keep it going. Probably got 20 or 30 years before I find some young buck to ask him to help me, and I can pawn it off on him, and then I can just sit in the shade and watch, and every once in a while I'll go pick a massive caber for everyone and impress them. And I can do that at my age. That's what Bob would do. Yeah.
So you got I was gonna say, you got strong armed. You got encouraged to throw at the games. How did you start?
So I threw in college.
Okay.
So I played basketball in college, but they had a coach at the time thought of the year as 4 seasons. So you never got an off season.
Oh, for basketball?
For basketball.
Yeah.
So the spring season was just conditioning. And I didn't want to do conditioning. And so
What college was this? Sorry.
California Lutheran. So I was a 2-sport athlete. I would go out to track. I did track in high school as well, and my dad threw the shot put at Seattle Pacific.
Oh.
So I had a field background. And then, so at Cal Lutheran, I was very lucky, and my coach, my freshman year, was Bob McKay, who is a renowned throwing coach. And one day at practice, he had four people stop by. They were just massive human beings. And they walked over to this cage and started like flinging a bag of straw over it. And I was like, what the heck? And Coach Mack started explaining, oh yeah, these are Highland Games throwers. I've helped them as well. And one of those really, really big guys was his son, Luke, who was collegiate national champion hammer thrower at Georgia.
Oh.
Well, Luke McKay was training for the Olympics at the time, and so he was living there, and the throwing position at Cal Lutheran opened up for coaching, and so he actually took it. So then Coach McKay's son, Luke, was my coach my sophomore, junior, and senior year for track, and he did the Highland Games as well. And so it was just kind of a really easy transition, and I think what's telling is how different our stories are, because I think the year I threw novice, that first games might have been my best hammer throw ever, because I had been throwing hammer with great coaching for 4 years already, and I was in great shape. And so
you had the pop, you had the hip drive,
Yep.
You just knew it, and you'd been doing it.
I'd been doing it, and I threw 97 feet as a novice first time, and I don't think I would just jump for joy if I got 87 now. And so it's only been downhill for me on like the hammer, because I had been doing it. The weights for distance were a little bit different because I wasn't doing that in college. So that was something I've been able to improve with technique and stuff like that.
So there's the hammer.
Yeah. So
Stones.
Well, there's 2 hammers. There's a light and a heavy.
Yeah.
There's 2 stones, a light stone and braemar. There's 2 weights for distance, a lightweight and a heavyweight for distance. There's a weight over bar, the sheaf toss, which is another height event, and the caber.
Yeah.
I think I saw you do the sheaf toss when we went years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then many games will have their signature, something that's just a little bit different. We do the keg carry. Portland has the Portland stone, which is a like 95-pound rock. You'll have
cool.
Keg over the bar, keg for distance. No, it's not. It's you don't see the same one twice very often, and not all of them do it. But there's always something. People are like, oh, you guys do the keg throws and this and that. I'm like, no, we carry it at ours. Which I would way rather throw an empty one than carry this big, heavy water sand filled keg. I did it the first few years when I was young and dumb.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I got nothing to prove. I've already done that. My back is wrecked for days after it. Now I let all the young guys do it.
Well, you have to move kegs now.
Yeah.
That you want to bar.
Yeah, I do. And they actually weigh more than that keg, I think. But I'm not picking them up and bear hugging them, I'll tell you that much.
Well, you were talking about how this one guy, he doesn't really do it a lot now because he has kids. And I was just thinking, you own a bar now and you have, how many kids now? 4?
4 kids.
Yeah.
So, like, how is your training? How's your training changed?
I don't.
You don't?
I mean, no. It's tough. I mean, I still lift weights.
Yeah.
A little bit of Olympic lifting, that goes a long way with all throwing. I plan on starting to practice a little bit more now, since I still have everything, and it takes encouragement. Like if Danny were like, dude, you want to just go out and throw before this?
Yeah.
And I would just message a couple people, and if we got a group now, I'm committed and we have a plan, and I do it. It's hard. Like I used to I got off work, I went and threw, or I went to the gym, then I just go throw, and then after I finally won a national championship. I'd been chasing a championship. I finally was like, I'm never going to win worlds, at least not in the lightweight class.
Oh, so you won a national championship?
Yeah,
When?
2014 in
Oh,
Tulsa.
awesome.
And it wasn't like an expected. I wasn't like, I'm the top seed. I was on maybe 7th or 8th or something. And
Oh, cool.
got lucky.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, I can relax. Like, I've been chasing this 5-6 days a week of training for years, at least during the throwing season.
Yeah.
And my wife, or my girlfriend, fiance at the time, was just, she did everything. I mean, cooked all my meals, cleaned the house, did all the laundry, because it was 8 to 10 hours of landscaping. Go to the gym for an hour or two, go throw, come in at dark. And I did that because it's how competitive it was. I'm not gifted with height like Danny or some of these guys. I was strong, but it's technique. Like he said, he gets better, on some of these other ones because of technique that you learn. And I had to learn technique, and I didn't have any throwing background.
Yeah.
I had nothing that really, other than like I was naturally good at stones, because it was just like this motion, which I've been doing, plenty. But I had to practice, and it takes like 10,000 reps. It's like 10,000 free throws or whatever to like get something that you can just repeat over and over.
Mm-hmm.
And then I told my wife I would finally just chill a little bit.
Yeah.
Because she didn't have me ever. We both worked a lot, but it's like she would be at work when I was doing the lifting and throwing. She is a bartender, server, always worked nights, but the summers I'm competing. I go to 7, 8, 9, 10 games.
Right.
And she wanted to go vacations and camping with her friends. It's like, sorry, I'm dieting because I was a lightweight, so I'd be under 200 pounds. And so I'd go to barbecues and I'd eat some meat and drink some water. And it wasn't fun for her, but she supported me, and she deserved to have, me back and have fun. So we bought a trailer and we started going to our property in Cleome. But I told her when I turned 40, it's on again, because I can actually beat some of these guys now because I'm the youngest in the class, and I can still be lightweight. So that's why I was chasing that Switzerland thing this year, because I was like, I'm the youngest guy in the class, or had to be close to the youngest guy in the class.
Yeah.
I'm still under 200 pounds. Well, I'm not now, but I was before knee surgery.
And so, because I'm just thinking, like, so you still do lawn care.
Yeah.
And then I know you own Old Timers, but you work there too.
Yes. So I might work Thursday, Friday, Saturday night. Bartender, bar back, security on Friday, Saturday.
You need security at Old Timers?
I mean, it's like having a male presence helps, like keeping the riffraff out. So, like, it's nice having a guy working on any big, busy night. I mean, some of the girls are scarier than the guys anyways, but it's a lot easier to, like, for guys to stay in line when I'm walking around and going in between people and checking on stuff. And if there's tension, go... I'm learning as I go.
Yeah, because you've had the bar for 2 years?
No, a year and a month.
Oh, just 1 year. Okay, yeah.
But I'm there all the time when I'm not working too. So something needs to be fixed. Orders, we got an order that comes in on Tuesday, an order that comes in on Wednesday, an order that come in on Friday. So you got to do them a day or two before that. So there's always stuff. Pull tabs, money bags. The sink broke, the toilet broke. It's like a never-ending. Yeah. So that's why training hasn't been.
I was gonna say, yeah. Well, and then Danny just keeps having kids. That's like his.
and has to work more than just a couple hours a day.
And I think it's the cycle you're seeing with me and Luke is something you see with almost all throwers. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's any thrower that stays on top for a long time. Mm. And the reality is, the amount of work when it comes to training, lifting, to be very, very good is a lot. And there's also just physics that it's tough, because you can do all those things, but if you could peak at 28 when you're physically at your best performance, and then you're just working really, really hard to maybe maintain. Yeah. It's a hard mental thing to do. And at those levels, and Luke mentioned turning 40, and there's this excitement. He doesn't even get the excitement I do, because he was a lightweight. But our weights, our heavyweights in the B and A division is 56 pounds. So when we do the weight for distance and the weight over bar, that thing hurts a lot when you're trying to throw it.
Yeah.
And as soon as you turn 40 or you're in the lightweight division, it goes down to 42 pounds.
Ooh.
Yeah, so that's why
Huge.
that's why I started doing lightweight, because I'm just over 200 pounds. A 56-pound weight is a lot of my body weight. Didn't like it. It hurts, rips calluses.
Oh, man.
You know.
To be really good at the Highland Games, you either need to be 300 plus pounds or less than 200.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, a guy who's 210 pounds throwing with the 56 and throwing with the big guys. It's like if I throw my technique may have been better than Danny's at some point, but we could have both gone and thrown A's, and he'd beat me in weight over bar every time.
Oh, okay.
Maybe if we're throwing 42, I had it down, but Danny releases at 8.5 feet in the air, and I'm releasing from maybe 7 feet in the air.
Yeah.
And he's got a whole lot of weight on me, so he can just kind of like muscle it up, and I'm struggling to get it 10 feet over the bar, and
Yeah.
it's not fun at all. And so when I heard about this lightweight thing, I could throw a 42. I'm like, yes. Even the 42 is not fun, but
Yeah.
significantly lighter.
Yeah.
I mean, and I almost would say it's fun, because I remember when we
Yeah.
threw novice, the wob was one of my favorite events.
Yeah.
Because it looked impressive.
Yeah.
This thing was going high in the air.
Yeah.
At 56 pounds, it doesn't look impressive.
Yeah.
And it just looks like people are in agony, which they are.
They are.
And so, yeah, I'm also really excited for when I turn 40. And at this point, all I'm trying to do is to maintain some technique.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, when you are in a division, you don't ever go backwards.
Yeah.
And so when I go out and compete, I'm still competing in the A division, which is the top division,
non-pro.
And currently I'm getting my butt kicked pretty bad. And it's to be expected. I'm competing against 26, 27, 28-year-olds that are lifting and training all the time.
Yeah.
And
maybe freshly out of college.
Yeah.
And now they're competing a lot, because a lot of the guys get into the A class and they start going to Enumclaw and Bellingham and Victoria and Kelso and Portland. And Danny does Skagit, and I do my best to talk him into coming to Bellingham or Mothro. If he can get away, find a babysitter. If he doesn't have a lingering injury, doesn't have to work.
I squeezed it away for Kelso this year. And last year I was able to get up to Bellingham. But before that, it was just Skagit for like 5 years.
Yeah. Can you drop down to a B level?
No, he can drop to lightweight. And he can graduate to masters.
Okay.
Once you're in A, I mean, it's...
Someone said if you stop throwing
for a couple
2
of
years,
like a pro
you could
can quit throwing and then come back and be an A. And what we've had happen recently in the last, I don't know, like 5 to 10 years, they have quit throwing, come back to A/lightweight because it's no longer a pro class and they're in a different division. And these guys who are like the 220, 230 pound pros that were good, but they're not 300 pounds or 6'8", and so they're starting to throw lightweight after a couple year break, and it's so much easier on them. They get to throw a 42. They were great with a 56, but they, now they can throw something that's much easier on the body, and typically they dominate. When they do that, because they've put in the time, they have all the technique, but they also have to seriously cut weight. And like when I cut weight, it's like 5 to 8 pounds. And that's just because I'm bulking up and I'm working out hard and stuff. And then a lot of the time I would just cut a few pounds of water before games if I had to, just so I could eat the night before and the morning of. Yeah. But some of these guys have to cut 20, 30 pounds dehydrating and dieting for weeks. And so they lose a lot of their strength. They've got the technique and everything, but it's just like MMA or any other sports with weight classes. Yeah. You sacrifice your full hydration and your full strength to be able to be with smaller individuals who you may be able to outpower, but there's a fine line where it actually makes the most sense. Like I couldn't cut 30 pounds and throw worth a damn. Yeah. If they had an 180 pound class, I would not try just because it would be too rough.
Well, and you were talking about how that 56 pounds, whatever you're throwing, hurts. And I was just thinking, have you seen any injuries on the spot?
You want to talk about Brandon Plus?
Yeah,
his sheaf. So
Did he stab himself? Oh, Jeff's.
Wait, what's a sheath, first of all?
So
that's the one with the pitchfork throwing the.
Oh, okay.
So you use a pitchfork to fling a 20-pound bag of twine over a bar.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you hold the pitchfork and you kind of swing it in front of you.
It's like a pendulum.
And a local thrower stabbed himself through the knee with one of the forks.
Okay, so Jeff did that, the same thing.
Okay.
Thornton. Just clean right through. And he still competed the rest of the year. So.
What?
Yeah.
Oh.
And still won worlds and stuff.
Brandon's, I think he had to take the rest of the season off, but he came back and he's throwing, and there's like, I couldn't ever hold a pitchfork again.
Yeah, I think Jeff's was clean, luckily, and I think Brandon might have like stabbed through one of the major ligaments or tendons or something. Because I mean, you only got so much room between here, and I've seen that a few times. But I mean, just knees blowing out. So I split my bicep brachialis last year in Bellingham, but like I've seen this year, we had a couple of guys with they blow out their bicep.
Like what does that look like when you do it?
Well, so sometimes it just turns purple and swells. Sometimes you
like a bruise.
Detach and it sucks up into here. Like so, like your muscles here, and then you'll have a giant gap for the rest of your life unless you have it surgically repaired. You know, guys tear a pec, throw out a shoulder, twisted ankles and knees.
I was thinking shoulders for sure.
Yeah, I mean you're spinning with heavy weights, and sometimes it's wet, sometimes it's overly dry. You got to have, like, when I traveled, I'd have 10 pairs of shoes, like discus shoes, indoor soccer shoes. There's all kinds of different kinds of cleats for wet and dry and long grass, and and most people don't have that. So you're just throwing with one pair of cleats or one pair of boots or whatever all day, and it's not ideal.
Yeah.
So.
And luckily, I haven't seen it in person, but I've seen several close calls of spectators of maybe being hit. So at Enumclaw, and I think it was 2011 or 2012, I was throwing the light hammer, and right before I released it, it hit the ground. And so it just kind of like, it shakes you up a little bit. So I had a late release, and so it pulled, hit the top of the fence on a sprinkler, and then nosedived and landed in a baby stroller.
Yeah.
Luckily, the parent was holding the baby.
Yeah.
But that's a 16-pound ball that ends up traveling at a very high rate of speed. And so there has been some close calls. I've always been scared for caber throwers. When you're running with the caber, and if you go to plant and you slip, and having it come straight down
guys have
on you,
exploded stuff. Landed because
because you have a log just boom.
You're holding it right here, and when you go to plant and you slide and you fall right to sitting position holding it right here.
Wow.
So there's been a lot of real close calls, and there's guys who've totally messed up junk. I mean, there's a ton of danger. This might be the most dangerous sport for people to watch, as well as race car driving would be worse.
Yeah.
But like of the places, like you go to a football game, worst that happens is a ball might get deflected and you're on the track or something, or there's.
Well, I'm thinking of hockey. There's the glass, and then they just put up the net the last few years.
We have cages and stuff, but like it can't fully enclose. Like we have a vector of throwing the hammer, so it's got to be opened up for you to get out to the field, and all it takes is one, like it's curving going around this side, and it lands in the out of bounds area or where the crowd is, and I've seen it multiple times. That's why we want to upgrade bigger, better, get more of a
for track and field at high school and college, there are associations that make sure that there's regulations of safety. There's certain requirements to have a discus throwing setting in high school. There's no body like that for Highland Games. So there's no set of requirements to meet. And so every games is just doing their best to keep it as safe as possible.
Yeah.
But there is no health department that's coming by on game day to make sure you're meeting safety regulations.
I would think though, like say you go to some games that you've never been to, and like you notice like, oh my God, like there's zero safety at all. Like, would you maybe not throw?
Well, I think most of the safety is for the spectators. And I think there are games, and this is testament to Luke. We have some really good safety equipment at Skagit, and it's been a progress. Our hammer cage gets taller and taller, but that's one of the reasons why we can have so many spectators.
Yeah,
there will be big games where the only people showing up are athletes and families, and it's really just a thing for the athletes to do for fun.
And the families know.
We'll put up our canopies over here. We're not letting kids run through, and so it's the safety stuff is mainly for the spectators, and Luke does a really good job of making sure that there's a kind of a fence where spectators have to be behind,
right?
And where a hammer might accidentally go is where the athletes' families are, not where just random spectators would be.
Got it.
So we try and plan
the only spectators I've seen hit were athletes' families.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yep. And they have an awareness of where they are is a little bit dangerous.
Yeah.
And it's only so with like the hammer, there are only really going to be certain times that it's very dangerous, and that's when there's a thrower that can throw it really far. And so there will be swaths of the day where there's novices throwing.
Oh, okay.
And there's not, worse, they let go of it and it goes into the fence. But when you got a guy throwing it 100, 120, 130 feet, and it can hit that angle perfectly, and it's going where, like, no one's expecting. They haven't seen a hammer within 50 feet of them. Everyone's just talking and...
Do you, like, warn people, like, hey, good thrower up?
We do, like...
Pros.
Pros, or we got a left-handed thrower, which isn't normal, where it's been going this way a lot. Like, now we're like, hey, you guys need to watch out. We got one guy and throws it 80, 90 feet, potentially clip this area, so just be watching, head on a swivel.
Are you left-handed? Is that why you were laughing?
No, it's just the terminology, not normal rather than not regular or something like that. Those are weird people. We don't trust them.
We don't have any left-handed throwers for, like, an entire year, and then next year we have one or two, and so we're not used to having to warn people on this side. And now all of a sudden throwers, a lot of them who are left-handed still throw hammer right. I guess it's just what we call goofy, like in snowboarding or whatever. Like they just happen to throw and release this way instead of this way. Normally you kind of release back and over the shoulder, and so all of a sudden now they're going that way, and people need to pay attention.
Yeah, and I think that is because there's no kind of regulations. I think the main job of the athletic directors is safety and keeping everyone safe. James Gorley, who does the announcing up at Skagit, he's the athletic director down at the Kelso games that I was just at.
Is he still doing it?
Well, he did it this year, and his whole talk was just safety. Kelso, I think they had... they do all of their flights on one day. So we had 5 flights going at the same time. Yeah, 5 different flights going at the same time on like 7 different possible places.
That's like us last year. We only got the one day because back. And so we ended up with 3 judges, and normally it's just 2 judges and 2 flights. We had to do 3, and we have a big field, but not that big. It definitely makes it interesting.
You got to make sure that everyone's aware for safety purposes.
Because imagine this, you got a field and everything's kind of going towards the middle. Mm-hmm. Like almost nothing, maybe caber can run, but even then if you start getting squirrely, you're going to go towards the crowd. So like everything's kind of running at least away from the fence towards some version of the middle. So you got guy running a caber here, guy throwing a stone here, a weight for distance here, a hammer here. And it doesn't matter so much when, say it's the novices and the B athletes and like guys who nothing is going that far, but you got like an A throwing a lightweight for distance 70 feet, and you've got a good A or lightweight or someone who's launching 120 feet hammers, and then you've got one of the pro girls throwing a 50-foot stone, and now it's like the markers are facing you throwing, so they're all back to back to back, and you've got weights coming. I mean, people have been hit in the chest. Mark, one of our markers,
his name is Mark.
Yeah, Mark got hit in the chest with a stone.
God.
I think it was Enumclaw or somewhere. Someone got hit at Tacoma, I believe, too. So it's tough. Like we're always trying to schedule it perfect.
Yeah.
It's like, so we don't want hammer Definitely don't want hammer at the same time as weight for distance and caber, because those are the furthest. You know, you might have a guy who runs 60 feet with the caber, whereas some guys just take their 3 steps and pull.
Yeah.
The more speed you get, the better, but you're carrying a big, giant pole, and the more you run, the more exhausting you are.
Yeah. And you don't want to be the caber being drained of energy right when you need all of it to pull is a bad sign. And we had a really big A caber at Kelso. I think it was 120 pounds. And
a new one?
Yeah. And people would pick it, and if they had to spend more than 2 seconds trying to get a balance to it,
just drop it.
Just drop it. You're not going to have the energy that you need to actually flip it if you're having to spend so much of your energy fighting
a caber, trying to get it up is like the worst. Like you almost have no chance once you're standing there holding it, and you're running backwards, pulling it against your body, backing up, trying to like get it to come forward, and it's going all over. The taller and the more that they have less taper, it gets really, really hard. It's really easy when you got like a nice small handle, but it's a pain in the butt.
So I guess the games provide the equipment then. I never thought about that.
They provide all the implements.
Bring your own caber?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just so you
bring
can
all your tape, your cleats, your braces.
Just so they know, like, oh, this is the right caper. Like, no one's trying to bring one that's...
We might have like 8 or 9 cabers, and you might have 2, 3 that are adequate for a class.
Okay.
So you kind of like get the athletes around, like, which one you guys want. Sometimes you don't have an option. There's only one that's good enough or not too hard for your class. One that won't be too easy or whatnot.
Yeah. Is there live music at the games?
Bagpipes.
Yeah.
Oh, bagpipes. Okay.
Our games are. I mean, some of them don't have a big stage and pipers and music. Skagit's pretty good. Like, they have a big stage, and they had some incredible gals from the East Coast this year.
Oh.
Like, it was awesome.
Oh, cool.
But there's always the piping and stuff every year there too. So.
Yeah. Oh, neat. Yeah.
Like who was the band that's done it a few different years? That's kind of localish.
Oh.
Like a Scottish band?
Yeah. But so there's that, and they'll kind of travel around to a lot of them. You'll see them at Portland the same year and whatnot.
Are you gonna have the Warthogs play this year?
At the Highland Games? Not traditional Scottish music here, but
they can just set up in the beer garden.
Yeah.
Play a few tunes.
Oh. So we got moved, so I don't know how it's gonna go this year.
Oh, the date got moved?
No.
Location?
Yeah.
Why?
Edgewater's
done.
Yeah.
City of Mount Vernon. Oh, I think I heard about that.
It's
The
now-
goal is at the fairgrounds.
It's the fairgrounds now.
Oh.
And you're dealing with the county rather than the city.
Yeah. I just don't even know the layout. I saw a picture of where we'll throw. I have no idea where that is in relation to where they could have a stage or pipers or dancers, because it's not the same big open layout.
Yeah.
We got the whole fairground, so I don't know where the beer garden will be. It's going to be interesting. Kind of scares me because I really liked what we had in our location.
And how long were you there for? Years?
Well, it started at the college and then moved to Edgewater, and as long as we've been doing it, which is 14 years, it's been at Skagit. It was there before that too, so it's been at Edgewater, I don't know, 15 to 20 years.
Wow.
I will say that the new location might not have the mosquito problem.
Oh yeah, but we're not going to be right next to the river.
Yeah. So that's that. Then it is well known, the Skagit Games.
Yeah.
You need to bring your mosquito spray because you're right along the wooded area right there where there's a lot of sitting water that time of year.
This year wasn't bad.
This year wasn't as
the year
bad.
Before last, oh my gosh!
Like, you're trying to focus on throwing, and you're just like,
you could. When you got in your car at the end of the day, like sun's going down, like Sunday, we have to clean up, break everything down, so it's really late, like 6, 7, and as it's getting dusk, like you get in your car and you can see the swarming mosquitoes, like going a lot, like it was. I'd never seen anything like it, like a swarm of bees, but a swarm of mosquitoes chasing your car because they were chasing you to your car. You're bit through your.
Oh my God.
I'm wearing these, and I'm getting bit right through the sweats. I got long socks on, bit right through those. The only place that was safe was my knees that had my big, thick Reband knee braces on. Everything else was fair game. Bite you through your hat. Like,
wow.
yeah.
They are hardcore.
They
out
have
there.
to spray the perfect time, and it's not the same time every year because breeding season is based on rain and temperature and everything. So they'll spray, the second week of June every year. I don't know what it is, but if that was too early or late into breeding season, by the time Skagit comes around in a month, it's on. Like they're like, 20,000 people to feed on, and they come in thick.
So even the mosquitoes know, like, the Skagit Highlander Games are the place to be.
Yeah, they have it marked on their calendar.
So is it, I want to say it's the third weekend in July?
It's the first weekend after the 4th, the first full weekend after the 4th. So it's usually between like the 8th and the 13th or something.
Got it. Okay. So it'll still be the same time, but it'll be at the fairgrounds. I
guess that the city and the Parks Department just didn't care for, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
That we're putting holes all over like one of their parts of their field for the games.
Yeah.
And they gotta maintain all kinds of other area, and there's a ton of garbage, and their guys have to help deliver and set up like all this stuff. Like they bring all of our fencing, and they end up bringing in like all of our big connexes filled with stuff. And so, there's a lot of work, but it brings in a ton of money to Skagit Valley.
Yeah.
If you have 20,000 people coming for a weekend, and some of them are all local, but a lot of people come from all over. Like there's people who come to the Highland Games. They're from Seattle, they're from Oak Harbor, they're coming down from Canada, because it's a really good big festival. So is
it a bigger area? Like maybe it'll be better.
The fairgrounds?
Yeah. Is it bigger?
I don't know. It could be better for parking and everything, because there isn't parking at Edgewater very.
Yeah, and I'm excited to not have to deal with the West Side Bridge.
Yeah, it's a nightmare getting in.
Saturdays, the Saturday, which is kind of the main day, middle of the day, it is paralyzed. If you're not there early, you're going to be there late, because it is difficult getting over.
I'm always there at 7:30 in the morning and leaving at 6 p.m. So I don't.
You've never seen it.
I don't see it. That first year that I came and witnessed it with my uncle and them, I don't remember much of that. But I've been at all of them early in the morning there both days and leave late.
Yeah.
And so I don't see the traffic. But I know that they ship people, like they bus people, they park elsewhere and get shuttled in, because where do you park that many people?
Yeah.
I don't even know where it's at, honestly.
The county parking lot is where they were shuttling people, but that is a newer thing in the last
I know that
5 or
wasn't
6
how
years,
it was, so I don't know
because
where everyone was before.
I think the games I think it's grown in the number of spectators, and I think too that especially this past couple years, there's a lot other games locally that have shut down, and so really Skagit's the only option you have in the Northwest Washington area.
Yeah.
Whereas 5 years ago there was 4 that you could do. You had Woodby, you had Bellingham, you had Skagit.
Bellingham doesn't do it anymore?
Well, they're in a transition.
Okay.
The family that had it kind of gave it up. Hovander Field and Ferndale kicked them out, kind of like what Edgewater did. And like they've been doing a random site. Like this year it was right off the side of the freeway in a field that a farmer let them use.
Yeah.
And it was actually not a terrible location or spot, but it was just weird. Like,
would you travel, hours to go to that?
No.
You guys might, because it's pretty close. But
I'll go up to that.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to come from Portland to go to.
Some
we'll all go to Portland and Kelso, drive 3-4 hours because it's a big fun games. It's a great field, this and that. But right now they're kind of in their rebuild mode. One, they got to find a good location, and it's got to be rebuilt because I don't think they have a lot of funding. There was one tiny little beer area and 5 or 6 vendors.
Did COVID kind of put a big
that
damper
hurt
on lots
everyone? Honestly, Skagit, I'm lucky because we have the Celtic Arts that runs it, and that's a giant nonprofit that's got its own big building, and they're running year round, with like piping and singing, and they give away scholarships, and they have weekly or monthly meetings, like even when it's not even around the Highland Games Festival, like they're a full-time, like they have people that are full-time employees, and so they didn't lose money. We weren't allowed to do it for a year or two, and then there was 1 year of kind of, let's see how people feel now that COVID's kind of over-ish. We'll do one day and see if we get a crowd. It was the biggest attendance in any one day.
The year after COVID?
Yeah, I think there was like 13,000 people or something. They ran out of beer by 3. They ran out of all water by 1.
Water?
I think there were like hour waits at almost every food truck.
Because people were so excited. There's an outdoor something to do. Like we hadn't been able to even gather. There was no festivals. There was no concerts. It's like, so it was like the first time that people got to gather, and they were like, we're gathering.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
I was excited. I kind of figured it would be. I was like, people aren't going to be scared to come out. There's, a few people with their masks on and stuff, and fair enough. But like, people were like ready. It's like, it's summer, it's hot. Like we want to do something. But a lot of people love the Highland Games, and like they'd been missing it for a couple years.
Yeah.
Were we close for 2? I think we had, there had to be.
2020 and probably 2021.
Yeah, nice.
So then they're like, we're going back to 2-day games.
The reliance on, how many volunteers do you have?
At
the Highlander Games?
Well, just our member meetings that we would do, they have them like every week or two for a couple of 2 or 3 months. I barely get to make them because they're like 5 or 6 p.m. on a Monday or Tuesday, and I've always had landscaping before this year, and this year was surgery and stuff.
Yeah.
So like I come to a few, there's 25 to 30 board member volunteers, super volunteers, what they call it, that are part of just helping put it on.
Yeah.
Then the amount of people who are driving around there, they're delivering food, ice, helping like the cops, the first responders, the people who are, 150 people that it takes to, we have to get volunteers all day to shag implements, help mark, do whatever. And they need it everywhere.
Yeah.
The whole place, taking out garbages.
Yeah.
And I think a lot, like when it comes to the athletes, setting up the field Friday evenings, we have 15 to 20 athletes there putting up the stanchions and putting everything, the cages up. And my
biggest fear every single year is a Friday evening comes and no one shows up. Danny's like the one who like every single year, as soon as he's off work, he's there to help. But there's so many people come and go. It's like we had a real tight group of us for a few years, like the ones who practiced together, and they all would be there. And now some of them have kind of moved on, or they moved away, or they have families and they can't. So it's easy when you got 15 guys.
Yeah.
But like I think this year we set it up with 6 or 7 of us.
Yeah.
Like it was like I was like, I don't know. Like my knee's not great yet. I don't want to be the one pulling.
It's tough because
we need a tall guy. Tall guys.
You don't need 10 people the whole time. Yeah. It's just for standing up the stanchions. You want
40 feet tall, hundreds of pounds, pulling them up together. Don't let them fall. Chained ropes. It's like a couple guys pulling back at an angle, and you got like Danny and whatever other big tall guy walking them up as far as they can because they're bending, and you break those things. You lose control, and you let that thing fall one way or the other, and you're done. That's a lot of money. And Bob is the one who made them for us. And we got Cass and Steve who can still do it, but it's not like you can't throw it up in a day. It's a lot of welding and fab time and a lot of material.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing we haven't touched on. A lot of athletes in the Highland Games end up becoming they're handyman.
Oh yeah.
Because like implements.
Yeah.
There's no, it's probably the one thing you can't buy on Amazon.
Yeah, it's not. There's no universal
weight for distance.
Yeah, people are like, where do I get a weight for a hammer, a caber, a sheath bag?
You have to make it.
Like the pitchfork's the easiest. I've had customers like, I found it, and they're like, it's just an old pitchfork, and they're not like the ones you see now.
Yeah,
they're like old, small, antique.
Oh,
and like I got a few of them given, and the guys will kind of like mold them and shape them, and like shave them up and put new handles on them, and you got to like have it polished but have a little bit still to it. Like it can't be super slick, but it can't have a bunch of burrs. So that's the easiest thing to get. But then like weights, it's finding Steve and Cass and these guys are making them. They're getting casts and they're getting balls of lead and melt it down. It's got to be the perfect weight.
Wow.
You know, it's gnarly.
That's cool.
How to get a caber?
Cabers, blades for hammer throwing.
Yeah.
So the really good throwers on the hammer, you're allowed to you want to be able to lean back to have as much of a kind of circle as possible. Well, if you can't lean back because too far, you'll fall over.
Yeah.
So what you're allowed to do is they'll be like 8 to 12 inch blades. Screw them to the bottom of a boot, and you will dig the blade into the ground. And then when you lean back, it's like you have this.
Yeah, you're attached.
You're attached to the ground.
You can start to lay back, and you're not going to fall backwards. And it's all basically the pressure on. I mean, you got nice tall boots, tie them real tight.
Almost like skates? Or
No, like the blade sticks out the front.
It's out.
So imagine a knife attached
so either
to the front
has
of your
a little
foot.
bit of a drop and then goes off, or it comes straight off the bottom, and it's like just shoved under the grass, and your toes like almost at an angle digging down in, so that you got like this much dirt under you.
Ooh.
So that you're kind of like on your toes.
Yeah.
And I only use one because I don't want to be locked in with because you
with your
come
knee.
back and you pull out.
Yeah.
And so I just use this because you're kind of winding over one side anyways.
Yeah.
So like everything's like keeping the weight over here, so I don't need the second one at all.
Yeah.
I generate a lot of force. I've never fallen over, but I've seen guys who like went to like throw and it didn't come out and they like fall backwards and twist a knee or. So I just learned to do it like that, which is easier. I only have to have one blade made. But yeah, who makes those? Guys are like buying guys are buying like random pieces of metal and trying to bolt it to the bottom. Yeah. And luckily I had Cass and Steve who fabbed stuff up. Cass and Steve's he's like a track coach who goes around to a lot of the games and helps and trained with us. Cass runs Bellingham and Mothro. But like I went to games in Texas where the normal blades, it was so dry, everyone's pulling out, just falling over.
Oh.
And I came home and I told Steve like I couldn't throw hammer. He's like, have no fear, I've got you. And he made me this. It's like the Stealth. It looks like the nose of like a big long airplane or something. It's kind of like triangular, super long. It's the heaviest boot blade like that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But I can put it into like sand and it doesn't pull out. And I don't know how he created, like you wouldn't think this is what's going to work to keep you in dry ground, but it does. It maybe because of the way it's shaped or how wide it is, but so now I can throw anywhere in any condition and I never have my blades pop out.
And you're saying there was no like sort of like safety regulations, so no one's like checking your shoes. Like
no, you can have anything you want.
Yep.
Yeah, you can do anything you really want to do that. You just be careful when you're walking. It's like I've seen guys stab themselves in the back of the Achilles because you like trip and fall, or like just they're walking and then they catch the front, fall, face plant.
Wow.
I don't like walking with hammer blades on when you have to go out and shag your weight and bring it back. I'm like, I'm not walking 100 feet in with that hammer. Like I'm just waiting to fall.
Yeah.
Or big heads up, and I turn to run with a big giant 1 foot hammer blade.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking when you were talking about like the 3 different throwers and there's like all the marker guys out there.
We'll yell at the hammer guy who's the furthest out. Like if he's backing way up and be like, hey, turn around, there's someone throwing weights. Like it's kind of like a team effort. Like we all have, like, you can't just depend. You're facing this way the whole time.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden Crystal's coming up to throw weight for distance and she's going to throw it 65 feet and everyone's been throwing it 30.
Yeah.
Like, hey, watch out. You're going to have a weight coming at you, so that they can kind of like lean off to the side and watch this way and watch this way.
Because you're supposed to focus on your throwing.
You have, but the person marking has to see right where that weight goes. I mean, like you said, it could be 100 feet out and it could be anywhere 50, 60 feet this way. So they're out there standing, waiting, and trying to follow it. And then they have to see right where it lands and then measure that front spot.
But wait, these things are heavy. Don't they just drop?
They do, but sometimes it'll land in another hole that has already been there. that's not a big deal if you're like the 1A thrower who throws 120 and you're going to get your win. But like when I'm competing at like a big games, there might be 4 or 5 of us who are all throwing 105 to 110 feet. And if that marker misses where my hammer went, take third instead of first, and I just dropped 3 points or whatever, that could be the difference in first, second, third, fourth, fifth place for the day. Because it's just like the decathlon. It's like your total points for the day. It's everything. Like first is 1 point. You end up getting fifth instead of first. You get 5 points. And you were number 1 and 2 in the rest. You just got third place. So the marker's job is important.
Are they volunteers?
Yeah.
Some of them are.
Okay.
A lot of times, I mean, we get a lot of volunteers who do this, but I don't prefer them to be marking. I'd rather them pull tape for the judge and let the judge just tell them where to stick it. And we usually have like ex-throwers or people who are competing tomorrow or competed yesterday who are helping and them mark, because that we all see it. Like I could be sitting in the crowd and I can tell you right where a hammer landed.
Okay.
But some people like see it and they run over and they're like 5 feet behind or in front of them. Like, no, that's not the spot. That's that fresh mark right there.
So is there like can you be like if you're throwing and they give you a number, you can be like, no, that's
the only way that works.
Like, can you challenge it? I guess
the only way that works is if you have like, so say me and Danny and a couple guys are out there and the marker goes to the wrong hole, we can go back. No, back here. Like that, you can tell if a hole's fresh and we all see it. We're watching it. So I've corrected some of the markers before. But
so there's never been a problem with someone sort of abusing
it's not abuse, but there's definitely been times where a guy's like, there's no way. That was a 110-foot throw, and they got marked with like 102 or something.
Yeah.
And it's like, we don't have instant replay, but like you saw the throw, and I'm like, that was a monster, and then it was like shorter than mine. I'm like, he beat me there. What can I say? I can't give him an extra 3 feet. It's not like that.
Yeah. Most of the time, and even when we do have shagers, in most events, the athletes are out in the field.
Yes.
They're not
hanging.
Yeah, they're not hanging out behind the trig. They're out in the field, and so the spotter can really be focused on spotting, because there will be athletes around that will let them know, hey, watch out, there's a weight coming, or so and so. So there are a lot of athletes out there. Yeah,
there isn't
looking
3
out
people standing by themselves watching for implements. There's like usually there's a bunch of us. Like you normally in most events you bring your implement back to the next thrower, and then you're standing behind them, and like so there's 2 or 3 guys waiting their turn to bring it up. And so
you throw and then you walk out there and get it.
You throw and then you might go sit at your chair for a minute, grab a drink, and then like there's 9 or 10 or 15 of us.
Yeah.
So then you're gonna go bake in the sun for 3-4 minutes, leading up to so you don't have to run out last minute.
Yeah.
Because that's annoying when we're like, who's up? Who's bringing it back? I'm like, oh, I'm right here. Because we got to move. Sometimes there's such big classes. It's like 9 events, like 15 people throwing. Yeah, like let's go. Especially when it gets to height events.
Yeah.
You get 3 attempts at every height.
Oh,
unless you skip every other event, it's just 3 tries. You get 3 stones, 3 hammers. I've had sheaf where I threw 18, 20, 22, 24, 26. Then we go to 1 feet because there's only 3 of us. 27, 28, 29. And you miss, go again. Got it. Go, miss. Go. And like it's like
that would take
30
forever.
Throws later. The event's over and it took an hour and a half.
Oh my gosh.
So that's the biggest thing. The height events take forever.
Yeah.
So people gotta be paying attention.
Yeah.
Especially the sheaf because
it goes high.
It goes really high. There's a lot of technique involved, and so people can have bad and good days. The weight over bar it can be really frustrating for me because I know if I'm throwing well, I can hit this height. I will never hit the next one.
Yeah.
Because it goes up a whole foot.
Yeah.
And it's just like. But the unfortunate thing is I still have to take 3 attempts with this 56-pound weight.
If you get to 13, you clear it, and you're like, I'm done. Like,
you can say you're done.
It's just like if you win an event or you've gotten to your PR.
Yeah.
I mean, you just know, like, I've waited both the height events. I'm like, I'm done when I'm done. Like, I'm not going to, sometimes I go for a PR.
Yeah.
Or I've now won and there's no one else left. And like, you want to go up another foot or 6 inches? Because when you're alone, you can just kind of determine. You can go 1 inch if it would set a world record or something. And so I'm just like, no. Like, especially if it's not the end of the day. Usually they're near the end.
Yeah.
You do weight over bar, and it's third event of the day, and I've now taken 12 throws, and it's like, do you want to go up to 16? I'm like, I can't get this on my best day. No, like, let these two guys fight out first and second, and I'm going to rest.
Yeah.
That's my worst event.
Is it?
Oh, yeah. I'm short, and I've just never gotten... I mean, there was times when I felt like it was good, but that was one of the ones I had to practice all the time. And unless I'm, like, doing it all the time, getting, like, the 16 foot, it's just like, I might get 13 feet or no height. Because all the only thing you really have to do is get it over the bar. Like, it's not really going side to side. With sheaf, you might be flinging it way to the left, way to the right, and it's just, like, going all over the place. With weight over bar, you just got to be able to get it to arc over your head, which a lot of times you get it to where it's, like, going straight up. And down. That's your biggest miss.
Yeah.
But that's why it's like sheaf is like, you got guys going all over the field, 3 steps right, 5.5 steps out, and as you go higher, you gotta get further and further and further.
Yeah.
It's like a fine art, and you start kind of more lean back as you get further out, and so you're changing your technique.
You're here at 40, you are, in lawn maintenance, and you own a bar. Is that where you thought your life was going to go?
Like 10 years ago or 20 years ago? Because 20 years ago, I couldn't have told you if I was going to be in jail, dead, like what? Like,
oh, really?
I had no, I didn't have any plan. Like, I mean, I guess at 20, in general, I knew that I'd been doing the landscaping for a few years, but I just...
Oh, so you were doing it that long ago?
I started a senior in high school, but it was like... Dad's starting this. I'm going to help him until he retires, and then I'm going to go do my thing. I was going to go to college, and I wanted to play sports and this and that. Now it's 20, and it's getting busier and busier, and I'm like, I never thought I'd own a bar, that's for sure. And I don't think at any point I thought I'd still be landscaping at 40.
Why did you guys buy the bar?
Because my wife and I had met there.
Oh.
And
what's her name?
Stevie.
Okay.
And I don't know if we were like 4 or 5 years into our relationship. She'd worked there. She right after we first met, she started bartending there for a couple of years, and like she was like, if Kevin and Sherry ever decide to sell, would you buy it for me? Would you ever consider that? And we'd just been dating at the time, weren't engaged, weren't married. And I'm like, yeah, of course. and honestly, it wasn't like just like, yeah, I will. But she's a fantastic bartender, and she's kind of like one of those boss kind of ladies. Like when you see her working, people are like, she gotta be the one in charge. She was never like the manager of places she didn't want to be, but she needed her own thing. Like I saw what she would like, the amount of work she'd put in just being a regular bartender, how much all the people would come ask her for advice and what should we do in this situation. She's the one doing it all and kind of like behind the scenes, not really being a manager of places, but she needed it for herself, I thought. Yeah. And so I told her I'd buy it, and then when it went to sell, my best friend sat me down and goes, well, you're going to buy old timers. I was like, no, I'm not. Like, well, I'm listing it next month, and I know you told Stevie that you were going to buy it for her, and now you're either the hero or a liar. So, like, you determine how your story ends here. I was like, dude.
Were you guys married at the time?
When we bought it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been married for 5 years now.
Oh, okay.
So when we bought it, we'd been together for a while, and I always thought it would be fun to own that place, but I just never thought that it wasn't real. Yeah. Like owning a bar is kind of like, I was like, that'd be so cool to own a bar.
It's like starting a farm.
Yeah.
It's so fun.
You see what other bar
you get to talk to
have, and you're like,
hang out with the
cool.
pigs, and
like,
they're
I worked
so
for
cute.
bar owners. I'd be like, this would be great. It can't be that hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like farming.
Yeah.
Just like farming. You're shoveling shit. You're fixing fences, right?
Yeah.
Just like farming.
Never ending. No, I didn't know how much work it would be. And
yeah, so we were talking about that benefit concert you had at your
with
bar.
Wes and Jack.
Yeah. How did that all come about? Did they just approach you and say they wanted to do it? Or
I've had an orphanage in Uganda that I was helping ever since my friend's dad passed away, and he was kind of like their main caretaker, is what they call you.
Oh, okay.
And I kind of started helping, but it's like, it takes a lot. Like, they need a lot more than the couple $100 a month I was sending them. And a few of my friends, like, I just put out things on Facebook about, like, anyone got any spare dough? I know we're all kind of strapped right now, and people are like, why don't you do like a charity thing? And Wes had started talking with Luemba, the guy who runs it. And he was like, I mean, I'd be down to, like, you want to do, like, a fundraiser or something? And he's like, I could ask some other guys. And he asked Jack, and Jack's like, hell yeah, I'm in. And so then we just started getting a bunch of. I asked all the businesses around, like, could you donate anything for us to raffle off, so we could end up, trying to raise more than just a cover charge. We didn't charge a cover, but I think we got, if it was 42 or 48 or 52, whatever, $100.
Oh, nice.
That was raised. Like, we had snowboards and
that's amazing.
Alcohol things
wow.
and just gift packs and paintings and all kinds of stuff. So like, you might have won a hat, or you might have won a $500 snowboard. Like, just bought into the raffle, and yeah, so we had a lot of things. We made a lot of money for them.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I feel like that's definitely like a theme of the local musicians. Like, they'll step up if someone needs help.
Yeah. The Dimes are playing at Old Timers. Just want to give them a plug. That's a kind of a big thing.
When?
I think December 1st.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how often do you want to have, like, do you have like a schedule, or?
I mean, honestly,
once a month,
so
or?
we do karaoke every Saturday.
Okay.
Like, if our guy is gone or whatever, we don't do it. But like,
Yeah.
so like Fridays are always open. I'm hit up by a ton of artists and bands and stuff that want to play. But I mean, it's kind of like, if I've never heard of you and I don't know anyone who's heard of you, it's not that you can't play at my place, but you want a few $100s.
Yeah.
And now you're going to, take away, like, people be playing the jukebox all night. And that's why a lot of people like it. We got a good jukebox, a lot of selection. So now you got a band there. So if you're not drawing attention, people might be just leaving. Instead of spending money on the jukebox, playing pool, drinking, eating, you might show up and be like, this is so-so. So like, when people approach me and they want to play, it's like, I either have to like feel like you're gonna like bring something in for, like, you got to have a crowd, a following. There needs to be a want, a need.
Yeah.
So like, if Wes and then the Warthogs and then the Dimes and like people just back to back just want to keep playing all the time, all the local bands, like, I wouldn't mind having people, every other Friday or whatever. But it's kind of like right now, it's like kind of a hot thing. Whenever we announce that we're gonna have someone playing. So it's like really exciting. We've only had it a few times.
Yeah, because it's rare. Yeah.
And I don't think that it would just kind of not be exciting if we did it a lot more often. But if you always have someone new and awesome that everyone wants to hear, makes it that much better.
I had a guy here. He's from Tacoma. His name's Dane Norman, and he was saying how he just emails constantly places.
I don't know where they even get my email.
But that's the thing, is like, you're sitting there and you get this email from Dane Norman.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? Like,
it's like,
you're busy.
Yeah.
So it's like, if he walked in and maybe played you a song, that's like actually probably great. You're like, I can hear you.
If you walked into my bar and you're like, hey, dude, I've been trying to play. I just want to kind of play you guys something real quick.
Yeah.
That's the best audition you're gonna get, because either we're all gonna be like, wow, or we're gonna be like, well, it's.
Or you can
thank you.
You can fix the toilet while he's playing. You're like, I got shit to do. Hurry up, go.
But that's what, like, they all do that, and most of the time it's like, okay, so what do you want? How much do you charge?
Yeah.
Do you have a following? Do you have a web page? Do you have videos? And then like, now I'm researching for you, like, just to see, like, I'm watching some videos. I'm like, I've never heard this song. Sounds okay. It's kind of like just like a camera footage of a concert or something.
But how are you live? Or
and it's like. And so I'm like getting on Facebook, hey, has anyone ever heard of this band or these people?
Yeah.
And like, a couple people are like, oh yeah, I saw them once, or I've heard of them. And I'm like, I want people to be like, I want to see that. Like, let me know if they come. And it's like the Dimes. It's like a bunch of guys who have been playing for a long time and famous around the valley. And it'd be an awesome show. It doesn't even matter what they play or for how long. Like, people are going to show up.
Do you know Sonny at all?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Sonny's actually coming here in 5 days.
Oh,
we're going to record.
I talked to him on Friday.
You did?
Because I saw that you'd posted, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to be podcasting with her in the next couple of days. Like, yeah, I got next week sometime.
Yeah, and it's his birthday today. So.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Happy birthday, Sonny.
I was going to ask, because you guys were talking about how much time the games take and all that, and we went on and on about how amazing Stevie is. How did you meet Nicole?
I met Nicole.
How amazing is Nicole?
She is amazing. I met her through Match.com.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
How old were you guys? Because
24. I was probably 25.
She's local too, right?
She grew up in Arlington.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then she was working at Johnny Carino's.
Okay.
And living in Burlington when we met.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the one in Burlington?
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember going in there a couple times. I don't even know why they closed.
Yeah,
it was good.
It was really good.
It was during COVID, wasn't it?
I think it was right before
just
COVID,
before COVID?
and what happened? They were doing really, really well, and then the bridge collapsed, and instantly the Burlington Boulevard turned into this detour, and people stopped going, and it never recovered.
Gotcha.
That was exactly what happened. But yeah, I would at the time I was working 410s, and so I'd be off Thursdays. So me and a coworker would go in on Thursdays for a couple
and there's
beers.
Just this hot server that you always wanted to go see.
So what's funny is we went on a first date at Red Robin, and after that, she didn't respond to any of my texts for like a month. She ghosted me. But I knew where she worked, and I would still go in and see her, and she would act friendly, but then just not ever respond with text. So
did you first meet her there? Like, was she a server?
Nope, I met on Match.com, blind date, Red Robin.
Okay.
And so
that's gotta be awkward. You're like, you don't gotta text me back. I know where you work. I'll just show up and hang out and eat and look at you and wait for you to make eye contact.
Totally. That was exactly what I did. And I was like, you know what? I'm either going to get a second date or a restraining order. One of these two.
Luckily, it was a second date.
Luckily, it was a second date. Yeah. So that was.
Did she say why she wasn't texting you?
She was probably scared because he was so charming and handsome. And she was
that
like,
was not it.
This can't be true.
She thought
he's a serial killer.
He's too good to be true.
At the time, I was unemployed and living in my parents' motorhome.
Oh, you said you were working 410s.
So my first day working 410s was the day after our first date.
Oh, okay.
That was one of the reasons I had to leave. I'm like, I start work first day on this job at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
I need to go. And she thought I left way too quickly.
And she was like, his other girlfriend is messaging him.
His wife is like, where are you?
His kid is at home crying.
I have no idea, but yeah, then just never got a response, and then second date, yeah,
it was fine.
It was fine, and it was not a catch, and she had a hard time with what I was wearing.
What were you wearing?
I just had really bad style. I was wearing basketball shoes with cargo shorts and like a polo, which
that sounds
for
like
someone that grew up in Skagit County was not abnormal. But for someone that had just finished at beauty school, there was a who is this guy?
My wife never liked what I wear anyway. She's like, you look like you just don't care. I'm like,
I don't.
I'm 40. I really don't care. I've stopped caring a long time ago what people think about me, and if they look at me like, what are you wearing? I'm like, I'm comfortable, thank you. Like, I almost never wear sleeves. I'm always in black sweats 99% of the time. It's like,
well, do you have 40 softball shirts in your wardrobe downstairs?
I've got
I think you have
a lot of colors.
I have 100
Do you have Highland Game shirts?
Every cutoff I own, other than like Corona and Modelo tank tops, are Highland Game shirts that are cut off anywhere from like right here to like all the way at the neck and like barely cover the nipples. I don't wear those anymore, but like it's kind of like I'd wear them to the gym, and now they're just like my favorite shirts. And and I'll wear a t-shirt or something to work at night. Yeah. But other than that, it's like I'm almost always on my way to the gym or about to go to the gym after I do whatever at the bar. So I'm always in like gym clothes, so I can just swing home, grab my bag, or I already have it with me.
Yeah.
So I'm always prepared because I don't have time to go to the gym anymore. So it's always like I'm one step closer because I'm in gym clothes. So all I have to do is get like 30 minutes, and I'll like just drive to Riverside 5 minutes from the bar, or 2 minutes from the bar. Yeah. That's what I did tonight right before.
Sometimes I'll go to sleep in my workout gear, hoping that like when I wake up, I'll just stand up and just start working out. Cause
I can't sleep with clothes on. So otherwise I would. I would sleep in this. I've fallen asleep on the couch once or twice like that, but... and I can't work out in the morning.
Let's let that moment sink in. So did she like ask you to change your clothes, or like you were saying she didn't like your style?
She told you 10 years later that
did you?
I mean, I think she came to the realization that at my size, you don't get to choose clothes.
You don't
it's
get
what's
to choose.
There.
So how tall are you?
6'6".
Okay.
I went. I had a presentation in Salt Lake City a month ago, and I wanted to have some nicer clothes for that. So I went down to the
Big and tall store?
DXL, the Designer XL store in Alderwood. This is a store specifically for big and tall. There was literally zero clothes that fit me.
Really?
If I weighed 500 pounds, I would have had a whole bunch of options.
Oh.
But there was nothing, because I'm a 36 waist.
Yeah, no 30. There was no size 36, 38 or whatever.
Well, yeah, I need a 36, 36.
Yeah.
There was none of that. There was 66 30s.
Well,
but so they've gone away from tall. It's just big.
Yeah.
And so it's, and I'm not a big size. I'm just a tall size, and they just don't make that for much. So
I'm still jealous that you have a store that's meant for you, kind of, because there's nowhere that you can find size 34 26s, and that's really like what I wear. I literally have like the shortest inseam, like size 30s. I step on the back. Maybe it's 28 or 27. Like literally, my inseam is short. So like whenever like someone's like, oh, I found a size that'll fit you, and it's like 32. So like I wear 32, 30, or 34, 30. Like, well, this is close enough. I'm like, no, 30 is the shortest that they make, so I wear that 2 more inches, and I might as well just like cut them off into skirts or whatever.
You might want to check out Coastal.
Jorts, yeah.
Coastal's where I get all my jeans. And
do they have really short pants?
Well, they have so much selection. They don't even. So they also have odd numbers. So you can get like the 36, 35.
I like it when I find 30. If I could find 35 29s, like that would be perfect.
I bet you Coastal has them.
I've seen it before.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they have under 30 size. And it only really matters if they're like nice jeans, because I don't want to step on them. If it's like Carhartts or work pants, they're just shredded at the bottom from my boot stepping on the bottom. Yeah, there is no like short and squat or short and round store. So, I mean, I would just go for if they just had short store and everything was like, well, I guess the shirts wouldn't fit because I have a super long torso.
Are you, so you're 36?
Yeah. Are
you surprised at where your career has gone? Did you think when you were like 20, like you would be, an assessor?
I think at age 20, this was the last thing I wanted to do. And I think I was doing everything in my power to avoid this.
Yeah. It didn't work.
No, it didn't work. When my oldest son was born, I realized how important benefits were. And at the time, I was working in the buck shop at Janicki, $13 an hour, 15 if I was on swing shift because of the shift differential. And so I had no ability to support a family. And luckily, I got a job opened up at the assessor's office for a trainee position. And I didn't think I was qualified or anything, but I applied. And in hindsight, I was much more qualified than I thought I was, and then
at least more qualified than some of the other people.
Oh well, and I mean, because my dad had been the chief deputy for so long, I heard so much about it. I knew more by accident than most people had intentionally wanted to know. So that was how I got into the office, to actually be the assessor. That wasn't even a thought until my dad told me he didn't think I had what it took to be an assessor.
Oh.
He's like, we were talking about something, and he's like, yeah, maybe you should get a job in the treasurer's office. It'd be more safer.
Suitable?
It'd be safer for long term. And I was like, well, what if I could become assessor? He's like, Danny, you don't have what it takes.
Oh.
Like, I bet.
You just named me Sue.
Yeah.
How was that campaigning? Is it kind of like owning a bar? Like you didn't realize how hard it was going to be, or was it easier?
Oh, totally. Or? No, it was impossibly hard.
Yeah.
I'm really bad at not hard or painful or discomfort does not shy me away from anything, and it might actually make me want to do it more because I feel like then there's some actual benefit to it.
Yeah.
I've never benefited from doing anything easy, and so give me something where I know it's going to push my limits, and I'm a sucker for it. That was campaigning completely. But it's also extremely empowering because there was a lot of people saying I needed all these helpers. I needed all. There was one day I was by myself putting up 4x8 signs along I-5. And I'd been told you need 4 people to do that. No, I don't. Watch me. And
I participated in the
so
Highlander games.
it was an empowering thing that I could still run a very high level campaign, even though it was my first time, and I didn't have I didn't hire any consultants. It was just all on my own, and through having a lot of local support, it was extremely uplifting. And
knowing people and being a good person goes a long way.
Yeah.
A lot of politicians, I've never heard of most people who run for things, so I really don't have much when I look at who I'm voting for other than the color, and the color even really doesn't really matter about, Democrat, Republican.
But you see a name that
I try to pick out like an independent, honestly. Yeah. That's why Dan made a good candidate. Yeah. But yeah, like most of the time it's like, I don't trust any of these people running. Honestly, and I don't know who they are. I've never heard of them. So, and Danny grew up here, and a lot of people know him. And
I'm also very involved in Leadership Skagit, and we just started a new class, and it's always fun to see who joins the class. We have about 32 people in this class.
It looks very interesting, by the way. I really, really want to do it.
Oh,
but anyway,
it's incredible. This lady that's in the class this year, she talked about, I think she's retired now, but she did work for Amazon. And someone's like, "Oh, what did you do for Amazon?" She's like, "Oh, I did lots of different things." And she's like, "Oh, like what?" Well, I developed the personality for Alexa.
What?
Oh my goodness!
That is my voice.
My son loves you more than he loves me.
Yeah. I talk to that more than I talk to most people, and I actually like it.
Yeah. So it was, to your point, people have these incredible stories, and we really don't know until we allow them to tell their stories.
Yeah.
It's important.
So when I picture lawn mowing, I just picture a flat yard.
Never.
So
people don't pay professionals to do flat yards. It's so when you were describing it earlier, like the people you hired or had you, it was like, oh, that's like when I worked for a moving company.
No one pays you to move something easy.
Yeah, exactly. You're never showing up to a house with easy moves because they would have done it themselves.
Yeah.
And
so if I could just open the front door and walk it straight out to the moving truck, why would I pay you?
Yep.
So it's 3 floors.
It's wrap around store. You're gonna have to take the doors off.
The piano needs to go upstairs, or any move out of Sudden Valley.
Take the legs off.
Totally. So it's I worked moving company for a while, and it's you are only going to be paid to do the hard stuff.
Yeah.
Because if it was easy, it's something that it's almost like plumbers in a way. Most people aren't calling the plumber
my drain or plunge a toilet.
Yeah.
Unless it gets really bad.
Yeah.
And
but
then
it's leaking downstairs when I flush the upstairs toilet. It's leaking into the bathtub. Now I'm calling you to figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
It's like, my yard's a mess. I need it taken care of. And then they end up hiring you like, this actually looks really good. I couldn't do this. I'm like, sure you could.
Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you said your dad was the deputy?
Chief Deputy Assessor.
What's that? Oh, Chief Deputy Assessor.
Yeah. So
how is that different than the actual assessor?
So Annette DeVoe is my chief deputy. The chief deputy is kind of the number 2 of the office.
Okay. Like the vice president?
Kind of. And what makes it a little bit unique in the assessor's office is every position in the office is a union position except for the chief deputy, which is just an at-will. I can pick whoever I want in that position. So
you can pick them?
Yeah. So my dad was the chief deputy for Mark Leander.
Oh, Jake's dad.
Jake's dad, who was an incredible assessor for a long time, and he really allowed my dad to flourish at his job, and so it's really cool now that Jake also works in the assessor's office.
Yeah.
Because I met Jake at a assessor's office party when we were like this tall.
You didn't meet him at Edison?
No, it was. I was still at Allen when like it was so. I was I was going in and just playing video games, like in the room, in the side room.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's 2 years older than me.
Yeah.
I actually was closer in age to Kelsey. Kelsey was, I think, a grade older than me at Edison.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was. My dad was the chief deputy.
Yeah.
Then after a while, he was kind of run out of town, and he wasn't quite ready to retire.
Yeah.
And so there was like a 3-month gap in a small county, Wahkiakum County, down in by the Columbia River, needed help. And so they contracted my dad to teach them how to use their new computer system.
Oh.
Which sounded great, except for my dad didn't know how to turn on a computer. And so I was currently living in his motorhome unemployed. We talked about that earlier. And he's like, all right, Danny, I need you to learn how to run this computer system so then you can teach Wahkiakum how to do it.
Oh.
And so after hours, he'd have someone at the assessor's office like, hey, this is how I do this is how I do that. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And I would go down and do that. So we did that contract for about 2 months.
Oh.
Where I learned kind of mass appraisal, how the computer system works, all
cool.
that.
Yeah, yeah.
Then my dad got offered the full-time chief appraiser job at Cowlitz County.
Okay.
And so he would actually he commuted for a few years, where he'd drive down there and stay during the week and then come home on the weekends.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so I kind of grew up in the office.
Yeah.
And then so when I applied for the trainee position, I didn't think I was qualified, despite having done more in that computer system than the people interviewing me, because it was the same system that Skadja used. And so I was like, yeah, I know how to build cost tables and land tables in the system. They're like, oh, cool.
They're like, we don't.
I've been here for 14 years and never done that. So I was more qualified than I gave myself credit for.
It was so funny. We moved up to Mount Vernon from Everett, and I was working at the Trumpeter for like a year and a half. And when CJ was like, I'm so sick of this drive. So when he got the job, I remember he was up against 60 people. And when he got the job, we were obviously so happy, like, great, no more graveyards. So, no more big drive. And Dave came in with his wife and then someone else, and they were paying for dinner. And I always look at the name on the credit card, just, so I can call them by their name. And so I look, and I was like, it was Dave Thomas, right? I looked, I was like, God, that name's so familiar. And so I gave it back to him. We were talking. I go, your name is so familiar. Do you come in here a lot? And he's like, no, not really. And I was like, I know that name. I know I've heard it recently. And anyway, so after a couple minutes, I was like, oh my God, you're the assessor. And he's like, yeah. And I go, you just hired my husband, CJ. And he's like, who? I'm like, oh, I guess he probably went by Chris. He's like, oh, yeah. And I just started bawling on the spot. I was like, you have no idea how much this is going to change our life. I was just overcome. It was amazing. And then probably 6 months later, I was serving wine. This lady comes in, and I was like, here you go. And I said, oh, you look fancy. What are you doing tonight? And she's like, oh, I was at graduation. I'm like, oh, was your son graduating or something? And she's like, no. And she's like, I gave a speech. And I was like, oh, why'd you give a speech? And she's like, I'm the superintendent. And I was like, so I met Laurel Browning. And I was like, oh my God. And I had just had an interview at Bayview. And so I walked over, and Josh Kelly was working with me, and I was like, Josh, talk me up. Go. So he walks over, and he's chatting with her, and because he knew her. And then I come back, and I'm like serving her another glass of wine, chatting with her. And she's like, and I said, oh, I actually had an interview at Bayview. And she's like, were you the one that taught in Korea? And I'm like, oh my God, they're talking about me. It was so exciting. You
teach English in Korea?
I did, yeah. That's where I met CJ, yeah. So I'm Canadian. Oh. And I went overseas to teach English, and he went over there too.
How long did it take for you to lose the A?
I actually don't say A. I think it's more like a East Coast and middle of Canada thing.
Everyone in BC that I ever met says A.
Really?
Yeah.
Especially all the Highland Games guys.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know anyone that says A.
Oh.
That's so funny.
I mean, even just
maybe they play it up just because they know you want to hear it. They know you want to hear it.
Yeah. But you still normally have a little bit of an accent or something.
Yeah.
So how long have you been here?
Oh, it's funny. I moved here in 2010. So we met in 2008. we got engaged, and then I had to live in Victoria for almost a year before I got my green card, and then I moved down here, and we lived in Everett for a few years, and then bought a house in Mount Vernon in 2015, and then got this house in 2018. So, but yeah, like I didn't even sub. I got a job like last second at LU mid-August. I had no idea what I was doing at all. I just walked in, all these fourth graders are staring at me. I'm like, Jesus, like I don't know what I'm doing. And
no teaching degree.
No, I have a teaching degree.
Oh, okay.
I have a few degrees, but like I never taught public school, and teaching in Korea is so easy. It's a joke. Oh, such a joke. It's awesome.
All the Americans I meet in Thailand are there teaching. Like they're like, yeah, I can like live here for 6 months out of the year, and they're like, it's so simple. Like,
it's not real. No, it's fake. It's fake life.
You're not teaching like an English teacher teaching English. Cause like it's like A, B.
You're just joking around with the kids, and like if their English is good enough, you can joke around with them. It's fun.
Yeah.
But when like they send them when they're 3 years old, like it's just CJ taught at a harder school than I did, but yeah, I mean we literally drank almost every night. Bars never closed.
All the people that I'm like,
it was crazy.
We're sitting on a Wednesday night, like, I got school in the morning. Yeah. It's not till 10 o'clock or something, and I work for like 3 hours, and then I'm like, what a life! Like you literally, this is your life. 7
and
days
you don't
a week,
mark like you don't. There's no curriculum, so like I went from that to like this. I'm like, holy shit, this is like real. People like follow up on and there's.
But you have a teaching degree. Most of them had zero.
No,
you don't have to have any kind of degree to teach anything, math, English, whatever. Well,
I know.
Over there,
I could have taught university in Korea. I didn't know that because everyone's like, "You have a teaching degree." I'm like, "You don't." I didn't know that. No one had a degree. Yeah.
They're like, no, I like used to work at Bon Marché at home, and I got that like went out of business, and so I was like, I want to travel, and then I came over here and like, would you ever teach English? And I'm like, I mean, I'm not the greatest thing. It's like, all you have to do is be able to speak it.
You just have to have that North American accent. Because I had friends who were Kiwis, and they had to speak in a North American accent, or they wouldn't hire them.
I go to bed at 5 a.m. on Saturdays, and I'm up at 9:30 to set all my fantasy football podcasts, and then I watch all day long on no sleep.
Yeah.
Dead exhausted. I do it to myself.
That's what he does, yeah.
I'm in 9 leagues for no reason. Danny's in half of them with me.
Are you?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
CJ's in one of our leagues.
Is he?
Which one?
Well, he's...
Wait, what's his name
CJ.
on
It's CJ is his name on it. It's just... So he's...
Oh, SEEJAY. Yeah. That's my husband. You're in a league with him.
So we're in so many.
Yeah.
You're really... How many are you in?
I'm in 15.
What? That's insane. I thought I was 1, 2...
Joined Toastmasters because of you. Yeah.
So
what the hell's Toastmasters?
Toastmasters
it's a public speaking group.
Yeah, just to help you.
Yeah.
Oh, so you guys are the ones who are seasoned for this because you've done public speaking, and I'm just sitting here like.
No, you'd think I'd be better at it since I talk all the time at school, and I was in Toastmasters, but I feel like I'm always the one. I cut my voice. You're never going to hear me in this podcast. It's just going to be you guys.
Shut up. It's just us talking back and forth. Like, where'd that come from? Is he just talking about himself?
I learned a lot about the Highlander Games. I didn't really know much about it. I kind of want to go next year. By
the way, just straight Highland.
Oh, Highland Games?
Yep.
What'd I say, Highlander?
Yep, but that's 99%
very common.
Is it common?
Say that.
It is. I mean,
you get one TV show and boom, everyone's just.
What's the TV show?
But like Kelso's the Kelso Highlanders, and
okay.
Yeah.
What's like the group in Skagit known as? You said they're the Kelso Highlanders.
Oh, that's like their high school.
Their high school.
Oh,
so the Kelso Games is like that's big for their town because they're the Highland. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
It's big for their town, but when I was throwing, there were 50 athletes throwing and maybe 20 spectators.
I went to a world championship.
They really care about it.
I went to a world championship in Texas, and the animals at the zoo 4 blocks away, we could hear louder than any spectator because there was none.
What?
Like, my wife was one of like maybe 30 people watching us. When I got down there, I was like, this is kind of weird. I need a big throw, and come on, cheer for Luke. It's my wife. It's just how it is.
So that makes the Highland Games here even more amazing.
That's incredible.
They've told me that I can host nationals and worlds if we ever want to.
What?
Sky, who was the head of the Celtic Arts, was like on board. But this was right before COVID. We were going to try to host a lightweight world championship. the Texas group took it. We didn't have anywhere to go for that year, and it has to be at like kind of at least over halfway through the year. And so they said, we'll do it. And we just went to a park in the middle of Dallas-Fort Worth area. And there's a huge zoo. Like, you hear the elephants and the lions and tigers and stuff, like, every once in a while. And, like, it was a great group of guys.
Yeah.
It's really weird.
But it's Worlds. Like, you want spectators
like,
at the bare minimum.
I remember doing weight over bar, and it's, like, almost dark. And we're doing, and, like, I needed, like, the next height. Like, big time. If I did this, I'm going to, and normally this is when, like, the whoever the MC is like, let's make some noise. And like at Skagit, you're going to have maybe 500 to 1,000 people roaring and cheering. And that gives you some adrenaline. And instead, I'm just staring at a road with cars driving by and no one making a noise, dead silent. And I'm trying to like clear a PR and
trying to pump yourself up. Yeah. Oh man.
This is the same place where my boot kept blowing out and I'd already bombed it on hammer and I needed something to redeem me.
Okay, so maybe Worlds could be in the conversation again.
It is. It definitely is. We might do nationals or Worlds. Okay.
All right, so I guess we'll go out with basically people should go to Old Timers. That's what we want to say. Without your kids.
You can find us on Facebook. Leave us a Google review on Google.
Where can people find you, Danny? People should join Leadership Skagit.
Yes. No, they should join fantasy football.
Join Danny's
Rotary, where you can find me at Burlington Rotary Friday mornings, and that is I would.
Has Luke presented at Rotary yet?
No. That was one of the things that they talked to me about it when I first bought the bar. I'm like, I need some time.
My daughter's presented at Rotary. I presented at Rotary, so I think it's your time. You should present at Rotary.
Well, you just got to go do a presentation.
Yep.
And introduce yourself.
Just talk about. There's themes. Is that
joining?
I think. No, we didn't join. We just went and did a talk.
You can be a presenter. So every meeting we'll have a presenter that presents something.
Yeah.
That's informing or fun or something.
I don't have anything like that to say.
Oh, you could do it on the Hagen Games.
Yeah, there you go.
You only have to fill like 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's really fun.
And it's really informal and...
Coffee, breakfast.
Well, yeah, that makes it a little bit tougher.
Okay, so go to Old Timers, support the Highland Games, join
We got
Leadership
Mothro coming up the weekend before Thanksgiving.
What is it?
Mothro.
What's that?
That is our Movember Foundation fundraiser for men's health.
Is it at the bar?
No, it's on Fruitdale Road.
Oh.
We just started this last year.
Like right around here?
Yeah, so normally it was down south. And so this year it's going to be the 18th of November.
And what is it?
It's Highland Games.
Highland Games.
But it's all the entries and all the money. And like everyone, like we can all raise money. Like we have a team or raise money individually or whatever, and it all goes to Movember Foundation. And like the top guy will get something that's been made by one of the blacksmiths or handyman or something in our
Cass
group.
usually does some really cool
Jay
handmade
did
stuff.
Sweet knives last year.
Oh wow!
Like for the top donators and this and that. Like we try to raise $10,000-$20,000 for Movember Foundation.
Wow, that's cool.
I'm trying to get him to come. He said he might come and not throw, and I'm like, this is horseshit. He's like, I got kids. I'm like, we have a ton of moms there watching.
It's also towards the end of November outside.
Yep.
And
that's what I was thinking.
The weather's a little bit different than it is in July.
It was 18 degrees last year. It was dead white. Looked like it snowed. We all had trailers. This new place is cool. We all had trailers and hookups. I got in to shower and it was dead frozen. The water line was frozen. I had nothing. I was like,
see, like what you have to do is tell him that he can't do it. Like, you wouldn't do well anyway.
Yeah,
you would.
You're big. You couldn't win the A class if you wanted, so
you couldn't.
You might be able to win this A class. Just say.
Because there's not used by not many people. But if you don't
show up,
I might be the only one in the A class.
We actually had like 30 people or something last year. It was actually a big turnout.
Yeah.
And the guy who...
Do you actually have classes?
Yeah, it's just like normal. And the guy, Bobby Dodge...
I don't want to throw a 56 pound.
Bobby Dodge showed up and had like goodie bags made. Like we all got, I don't know if it was Doritos or not. So they all had mustaches on them.
Oh, that sounds shirts amazing.
And cool stuff. And the guy who let us do it, he's from the Legion.
There you go.
He's like telling his friends, like, can you believe this? He's like, there's 30 people out here. It's 18 degrees, freezing cold. They're all in kilts. Half of us are in t-shirts already. Like, I wore my sweatshirt for the first hour, and then I'm too damn hot for this.
Yeah.
There's just out there pictures of us just smoke every time we breathe. And then it warmed up, and it was like 45 by the end of the day. It felt hotter than hell. And I was in my cutoff by that time, and yeah.
I think you should go and experience your first one. I'll go in Danny's honor. I'm not going to throw anything, but I'll just go and, you know,
you should
suss
come.
it out.
You should come just podcast at it because
that'd be fun.
You want to meet some interesting people. We've got war heroes and first responders and
sure, sign me up.
Yeah.
See, it's that easy. Just commit and then go having no idea what you're going to do.
Wear a stocking cap, a heavy coat. Also bring shorts.
Do I have to wear a kilt?
No, but I can get you one if you want one. Have you never worn a skirt before?
Yeah.
First time I worn one, I'd never worn a skirt, so it was really awkward for me, but this has got to be second nature.